episode 15, and we're chatting with Kai Lenny all the way from Hawaii.
Aloha, and welcome to SUP FM, the podcast for stand-up paddleboarders everywhere. So with no further ado, let's get out on the water and on with the show. Here are your hosts, Nick and Simon.
We were really excited about this guest. I think when we started, we obviously respect and we love all of our guests because they're all outstanding, they're all passionate, they all spread the love of stand-up paddleboarding. But we had kind of secretly talked about a holy trinity, haven't we, Nick, about of guests that we really wanted to get on the show. And
Absolutely.
And so, one of them, obviously, Laird Hamilton. Dave Kalama being the other one, and Kai Lenny being the third. And blow me down if we didn't manage to interview one within our first 15 episodes. So what was it like, Nick, talking to Kai Lenny?
Well, I think the most amazing thing was that he said every Friday night Laird and Dave come around to his house for a barbecue, which just struck me as amazing. But he was such a fantastic guy to chat to. He really was amazing. And we had a few Skype difficulties in the end, but there was just some absolute nuggets there the whole way through the conversation. It was fantastic to chat to him.
Oh, superb. So brilliant. I mean, it's a really, really fascinating interview, the bits that we managed to capture. So here it is, 30 minutes of quality chat. Nick chatting to Kai Lenny.
Well, Kai Lenny, welcome to SUP FM. It's great to have you on. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm stoked.
Where are you at the moment? Sounds like you're in Europe somewhere.
Yeah, so I just flew in from Hawaii, about a 36-hour trip to Barcelona. There's a World Series race here in Barcelona, so basically here to do that and super excited about it.
Oh, you must be exhausted after a 36-hour flight.
Yeah, pretty tired, I'll admit, for sure. It's a long trip from Hawaii, but trying to not fall asleep right now because it's really tempting.
Okay, well, I'll keep prodding you all the time just to hope you wake up. Okay, can we just get in a little bit of history? Because obviously you grew up in Maui in Hawaii. Can you recall your first experience of stand-up paddle?
Yeah, my first experience of stand-up paddle was when I was 7 years old, and I think it was kind of before it was even a sport because I just saw Laird and a few others do it, and one particular time it was Laird doing a downwind coast run on Maui, and it looked so bizarre because you'd never seen anybody do something like that before. It just somebody standing on the water and going downwind. It was really crazy, and so I started doing it, and all of a sudden I blinked, and now it's a really big sport.
Oh, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
But what was he doing it on in those days? Were you doing it on windsurfers or longboards, or what were you guys using?
I was just using my longboard. I basically was I was on my 8.0 longboard at the time, and it must have been like 20 inches wide. And because I was so short when I was 7 years old, I could just get away with like a traditional outrigger canoe paddle, and it was like perfect height. So my set was actually pretty legit.
But that must have been what, 1997, around then.
When I was 7 years old, yeah, something like that.
Because I'm trying to figure out exact timeline when Laird Hamilton actually introduced it to Hawaii. I thought that was about 2004.
Well, I believe he started doing it around 1998 on Maui, and then after he kind of got really into that, and I think it was only until like 2004 that the rest of the world caught on. It was this kind of novelty sport on Maui. And in Hawaii in general, too, because there's a few guys doing it on Oahu and also Kauai. But it was kind of funny because it's like a novelty sport, and then all of a sudden it became its own sport, It was still considered surfing, but it was just, you just had a paddle in your hand.
But Laird Hamilton, I mean, he's obviously one of the greats of all time. Did you just grow up around him?
Yeah.
Was he mates?
Before I was even conscious that I knew Laird, Laird knew me because he knew my parents, and I was lucky because a lot of the people that I knew and all my mentors, they all, they were all there before I was even born. So I kind of grew up already knowing them.
Oh, that's amazing. So who've been your most important mentors in your life?
My most important mentors have been guys like Laird, for example, Dave Kalama, Robby Naish, Jerry Lopez, Derek Dorner. I've had so many amazing people to support me growing up over there. So it was like quite easy because I always had somebody to look up to in whichever discipline it was. But I mean, those guys were definitely there and they were close to me for sure.
Yeah, I saw a video of you and Robby Naish in the Antarctic or up in Alaska, I think it was. Are you still in contact with them on a regular basis?
With Robby?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's my sponsor, so I talk to him on the phone every day pretty much and see him all the time. And when you grow up on Maui, especially, since that's kind of the place that I call home mostly, I mean, I see all these guys all the time. It's like it's like a regular occurrence because when my parents or I have a barbecue at our house, it's like it's those guys come over. It's just like a normal friendship.
That's crazy. Sitting here on the other side of the world, they all obviously got super stature, those guys.
It's funny because like they sure do, but at the same time, they're just normal guys as well. They're just genuinely good people, and yeah, it's fun to I guess be around them, and then of course they are who they are because of what they've done. But it's pretty funny because like you just realize that they are just like everybody else, except they have this gift or this talent that they have.
Mm-hmm. Because why did you not stick with surfing, for example, and how did you develop your skills in different sports as you grew up?
Well, I never stopped surfing. Still surf a bunch every day pretty much, and with all my sports, it's just what my competitive focus was. Windsurfing for a while there was my competitive focus, and now stand-up paddling is my competitive focus, and that involves stand-up wave riding and stand-up racing. So those are kind of my competitive focus. But as far as like every single day when I'm home, I'm basically surfing, windsurfing, kiting, stand-up paddling in the waves, stand-up racing, basically doing whatever the conditions are best for. So I shortboard as much as any other young kid surfer from Hawaii.
Okay. But so you don't lose focus. It's just basically what the conditions are doing for you at the time.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. I don't know. I've always felt like it's more fun to, switch things up and keep things fresh. I mean, they're all based around surfing. Every single sport that I do is based around surfing. And so, basically when I, get on the water, I just want to ride waves. And, It's interesting because I feel like it helps me more when I do these other sports for when I get back into my competitive game because it keeps me fresh, but then I can take things from surfing or windsurfing or kiting and apply them to my competitive prowess. Right.
Okay. So with SUP racing, I mean, obviously you're in Barcelona for this race now for the World Series. Are you totally focused on SUP this year, and are you competing in kite surfing as well, or is it just stand-up paddle?
Right now, my competitive focus is just stand-up paddle, racing, and wave riding, and this is the first race of the year for the Stand-Up World Series. There's other races that have been going on, but this is the start of the tour, and it's going to go out with a bang, I think, over here. Barcelona is beautiful, and it's going to make for an insane race course. And also the infrastructure of the event looks amazing.
Excellent. I hope you have some good conditions.
I sure hope so.
So out of the major 4 SUP disciplines like downwinding, touring, exploring, racing, surfing, what's your preference, would you say?
Oh, well, for sure, always wave riding is my favorite, Riding waves is it's the ultimate. I don't think you could compare any part of the sport to riding, like, for example, a giant wave at Jaws. It's just the feeling and I guess the moments you have doing it. It's really like untangible to and really hard to explain to most people because it's so unique and special. But as far as the sport goes and everything, I enjoy it all. But riding waves is for sure my passion. But then also riding rivers and going downwind, it's all similar to surfing because you're moving across the surface of the water. It's just which one's more extreme than the other, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it can get pretty extreme down in, what's the channel called between Oahu and Molokai?
Yeah, the Kaiwi channel, which is, Molokai to Oahu, that's a treacherous channel. And what Kaiwi means in Hawaiian is the channel of bones. And so, that'll give you a hint why it's so gnarly, because I'm sure back in the day, a lot of people got lost out there.
And you've done it, 6 times?
Yeah, I think 7 actually now.
Okay. And when you're out there and I think a couple of years ago it was just ragingly crazy conditions. What do you think about out there? It must be insane.
Oh yeah, I mean it's insane every time I go out there, because you just realize the power of, I guess, the ocean is just, it's so intense and it's so humbling. But I've been out there so much that it's become kind of normal, which is really pretty cool. But at the same time, I was just recently out in that channel and I definitely realized that there's a lot of power moving out there, and there's a lot of big fish too. It's the darkest, bluest water I've ever seen in my life. Like, it's almost black. It's so, I don't even think you could call it purple or blue. It's more like a purple, but it's so dark.
Why is that?
Yeah, it's just because it's so deep. That's all. You're in the middle of the Pacific, in the Hawaiian Islands, and right there is just deep blue, open Pacific waters with who knows what's under the water there.
Do you ever feel the urge to go and have a look, or get some goggles on and go and see what's going on down under the water?
Oh, all the time. I mean, every time I'm out there, besides when I'm racing, like when I'm racing for a race, obviously you don't want to take your time, but I've been at that channel so many times that I've been able to look down and see. And the last time I did it, I just did it for fun. And when I look down, it's just like, ooh, yeah, there's some pretty big fish that are lurking down there, because as soon as I got going again, 2 minutes later, I passed a huge tiger shark. So they're watching you. I don't know if you want to be swimming in that water for very long.
Well, that was my next question. What kind of marine wildlife have you come up to? Have you come up against?
For myself, you can see massive manta rays that are they're gigantic. I mean, it's like a massive rug in your living room. That's the surface area they cover. But also, I've seen great whites, tiger sharks, dolphins. You see every kind of shark out there, every kind of fish out there, just because it's so deep that a lot of them will come up from really deep down and reach the surface and say a friendly hello most of the time, just checking you out.
Let's hope they keep it friendly. That's great.
Yeah, as long as it's friendly.
I was watching something about the Molokai race, and they were saying that people do it in relays as well.
Yeah.
Is that something which is fairly attainable by the average person in the street who can actually get on board and go and do it and experience it that way?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, they do that for the race in particular. If you want to do the race, that's kind of like, I guess, your intro to the race or to the channel. Is you go do it with a buddy, or you go do it with 2 of your buddies, and you can have a 3 team or whatever. And that's really fun because you can push each other across the channel, and it's more of like overcoming the challenges of the channel. And it's a good jump start to get into a solo run through it, which is quite intimidating, but at the same time it's really rewarding and fun at the very end. But the beauty of that channel too is whether you want to do it for the race or not, you can do it on any given day at any time of the year if you'd like. It's just open game out there. But the race is fun because you're just with 200 other people. And then you quickly realize that as soon as you're out on the water, you look around 30 minutes later into the race and there's nobody around you. Everyone vanishes because the seas are so big, you just can't see anybody.
Wow. So you must feel pretty alone.
Yeah, you have to have an escort boat for the race. And for sure, though, it's a lonely place out there because it's just something goes wrong. If you didn't have that escort boat, you're headed to Tahiti, and I'm not sure you're getting back.
But do you have a personal escort boat? Because obviously in a race like that, you must stretch out really quickly.
Yeah,
and separate out.
Yeah. You have to have your own escort boat. That's just part of the deal.
So there's 200 boats going out there.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of people on the water.
I mean it's full Waterworld if you've ever seen that movie. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I have seen Waterworld. Yeah, with Kevin Costner.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's get into the training. But like for example, for Barcelona, what does your off-board training look like, and how's it structured, or is it are you just paddling all the time?
It's a lot of gym workout as well. But most of it's spent on the water, paddling and doing different types of paddling, like I guess distance training as well as sprint training. But a lot of it's all supplemented from my other sports, from surfing, from windsurfing, from kiting. I feel like those sports give me a little bit of an advantage in certain conditions from, just those experiences that I have doing them. And, everything kind of falls into place when I always seem to do my best when I'm having fun. And when I'm having fun is when I'm surfing and doing these other sports along with doing all my stand-up paddling.
So how much gym time do you get in?
Probably only like 3 hours a week, 1 hour per day for 3 days, and it just depends on, really it depends again what the conditions are doing, because if the surf's good, I'll opt not to go in the gym and I'll just push it back a day, or, I'll just reschedule that type of training because I'll be getting similar training in the water surfing, but, with the ocean, when the surf's good, you go.
Sure. Yeah. What about paddle fit? Have you heard? I mean, you must have heard about the paddle fit movement, and everyone's getting into paddle fit exercises and using the board as their own gym. Do you think that's you could use that in your training regime, or do you?
No, I don't at all. But I could see that it's probably pretty cool. Anything that I guess makes you feel like you're improving or you're feeling good is a great thing. And what I'm doing now, I have kind of my system down to the wire the way I like it, and I think that's the trick. Is it's not really about copying what other people do, but finding what works for you, because we're all built different. We all basically it's along with food as well. What I eat isn't probably what your body would necessarily like, and vice versa. So it's about finding, I guess, what works best for you. And for me, I'm in such a good place with what I'm doing. I don't plan on adding any more stuff besides the stuff that I'm doing, supplementing already. But, the beauty of stand-up paddling is, people are doing yoga on it. People are, going down rapids. People are doing all these different types of things with it, which is incredible, because what other sport on the planet allows you to be so diverse, and have people doing something that's so different from what you're doing.
Exactly. Absolutely. Just on the coaching, though, do you get really technical and do video analysis? And
yeah, absolutely. It's something that I for sure do. I guess it's just really trying to figure out the nuances, how to paddle or how not to paddle or whatever. And video analysis, it's really clear data, because you don't have to rely on somebody else's word. You could see it for yourself and know instantly. Even if that person's word is as valuable as anybody else's word in the planet, it's just really nice to see for yourself, because you could be like, oh, I instantly know what I need to change. Like, what I didn't even know I was doing that. So that's really, helps out a lot.
I mean, that part of the sport the stroke technique must have advanced incredibly in the last few years, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, it's all constantly changing. And the cool thing about stand-up now, too, is if you notice, there's a lot of different people doing a lot of different, types of paddling. Like, the way I paddle is for sure different than, to the way Danny Ching or Dave Kalama or any of those other guys paddle. Even though it's the basic fundamentals are there, I guess the little nuances of the stroke are different.
Mm-hmm. But like you said, it's different strokes for different folks, yeah?
Yeah, and I guess it's about again, too, it's like everyone's trying to figure out how to go faster. And the way I think to go faster is definitely different than, a couple of the more old school paddlers think it is. Yeah, it's just basically, I guess, adapting to your own body, because my body's definitely built different than everybody else's, and theirs is built different than mine. So, it's finding what works for you first and foremost.
Sure. So how about this weekend? Who are you up against? Is Danny Ching there and Connor Baxter?
Yeah, Connor is here, I believe. I don't believe Danny Ching is here. Not exactly sure exactly who is here, but I know a lot of big names are here. So it should make the racing here quite fun.
Well, definitely. We'll follow it at Sup Racer. Do you use that website at all, Sup Racer?
Yeah, every once in a while I'll go check the site out. It's really cool. I think we need more websites like that where, there's good up-to-date information to, get people excited about the sport.
Yeah, I watched his coverage of the Carolinas Cup. It was fantastic. It was Christopher Barker. He was running around like mad. It was great.
Yeah, it's a lot of work doing that job, covering everything, Especially if if you're doing it like if you're trying to get all angles of it and get all perspectives and everyone's like side of the story, it would be. I've seen him just run around events like mad the whole time. It's pretty cool.
So what about Connor? How well did you get on with him?
Oh, well, I think people forget, but pretty much grew up with Connor on Maui. I was windsurfing with him and doing a lot of races against him since I was like 7 years old. And so, there's definitely that long time rivalry from there. But, yeah, I mean, I get along with Connor great. I don't know if his side of the story, but it's all been fun. When you grow up on the same island, you kind of, you have to get along with everybody because it's a small island, and we call it coconut wireless, where basically everybody kind of knows everything going on all at once, You don't even need to talk on cell phones to know what's going on with the scene.
Coconut wireless, is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we call it the grapevine over here.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, because on the Battle of the Paddle, I think it was last year, the stand-up paddle press made a huge big thing about your interaction on the final wave coming in, you and Connor. What was that all about?
Well, that actually, there was a lot leading up to that because Connor's known for racing pretty rough. He'll definitely push the boundaries of the rules as far as he can. And a previous race when I was in Huntington Beach, we were going for the world title. And most of the time when you get on a wave and everyone's on the wave, it's kind of gentleman's rules where you just kind of stand there and the race kind of starts back up once the wave peters out or you get to a buoy, but everyone kind of relaxes. And he forced myself and a few guys off the wave, just kind of, running into our boards. So
you're saying gentleman's rules on the wave, but he decided to take a few people out. Is that correct?
Yeah, and it's all, the classic saying is rubbing is racing, which is fine. But, another thing is, if, don't expect to, punch someone in the face if you're not willing to get punched back. Because, basically, I want to win just as bad as he does, but I like to win is, clean and clear as possible, not, having to necessarily resort to tactics all the time. But, that's what happened. And so, he tried pushing a little bit too hard in Battle of the Paddle and basically made me fall. And I'm like, hey, if I'm falling, you're coming with me. We didn't affect anybody else, so it didn't really matter. And it was kind of interesting. It's just classic because, the sport of stand-up is still so young, and there's so many people that like to dramatize a lot of things, a lot of these websites. So it was just funny because it was like they made such a big deal over it, and it was really not that big of a deal. Again,
they loved it. They just jumped on it. Sensationalism. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's just basically that whole TMZ gossip stuff, which is cool. I guess people love that. But definitely made my race. I wouldn't have wanted it any other way because I basically got all the way back to 10th place, and I had to work all the way back up to first to win. And it was pretty gnarly, but it was so much fun.
Oh, well done. That's an amazing result. Yeah. But do you think, you briefly mentioned that stand-up paddling is getting so big. Do you think it'll be bigger than surfing ever?
It definitely could be because the sport is, I think the idea of surfing, that culture aspect will always be, I think the largest. But what stand-up's going to do is it's going to bring surfing to the masses, because stand-up paddling is surfing. It's just in a different form. All you're doing is standing up on a board and paddling. And so people on lakes, rivers, any body of water, if they don't have a wave, they can go surfing. And they can get that sensation from paddling themselves across the water. And I also look at stand-up paddling as kind of the bicycle of the water, the bike of the water. And it's really cool, because I think for sure maybe in the next 10 years we'll see probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, water sport on the planet, because it's so accessible to everybody.
That's exactly what I was saying to my clients this morning. I'm saying this is like a bicycle on the water as we paddle through the cliffs of the Algarve. It was fantastic. I think it's an amazing analogy to use. It really is, because bicycling obviously has grown radically here. And I'm sure stand-up paddle could grow as fast as that. But quick question. What 3 things do you think the sport offers young people?
I think the sport offers a lot of opportunity, because the sport itself is so new. If you can get on it now, really train hard and, love it for the sport it is, you could really go far away with it. And too, it's the ultimate cross trainer for, so many other types of wave riding. In particular, the best training in the world, I believe, for big wave surfing is stand-up paddling. Stand-up paddle race training in particular. If you can stand-up paddle race train and really work hard and do some, in the wintertime, you could pretty much just about handle any type of massive wave in the world.
Kai, when your first time at Jaws, I gather you were 16 and you went out on a foil board. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I went on a foil board. I just got a call from Laird and Dave, and they're like, hey, do you want to go up to Jaws and, go foil boarding? And I'm like, yeah, of course. And I asked permission from my parents. And, the reason why I never went out there earlier was because I was always waiting for, I guess, approval from my mentor, basically honoring that, they thought I was ready. And so, yeah, that's exactly what I waited for that call. And when I got it, I was more than stoked to go out there and experience it.
So was that the first time you ever foil boarded?
No, I've been foil boarding since I was, say, around 9 years old. So I've been foil boarding, many years before, but it was just interesting. And that's another reason why they called me to go up there, because they knew I foiled. So I don't think you would take somebody foil boarding at Jaws for their very first time. It's asking a lot.
Yeah, it was a bit, yeah. So, but now obviously at Jaws, it gets pretty big, right? It's one of the biggest waves in the world. So what do you do? Have you developed any techniques to deal with hold downs? Basically,
the only thing you can do is just take it like a man, or, take it like a really tough woman too. It's like, it's pretty gnarly, because when you get out there and take a big wave on the head, you're completely out of control, and you have to be willing to accept that. You could barely get your arms and, legs in, especially get your arms over your head. So if you get hit by your board or something, it's pretty good chance the lights are out pretty quick, and it's all out of your hands. The best thing you could ever do in big waves, especially at Jaws, is remain calm, just as calm as you can. And I almost go limp underwater with my body so I can conserve my oxygen, because as soon as you start struggling or trying to panic, it just goes all worse. You feel like you're just sinking deeper and deeper.
And that's where we had to leave the interview, because our Skype just messed up. I'm not sure if all other podcasts have the same issues, but many seem to. So it was great chatting to Kai Lenny, and we're just super thankful for the bits we got. Thanks very much for listening. We'll see you next week on SUP FM.
Thank you for listening to SUP FM, the #1 podcast for stand-up paddlers wherever you are. If you like what you've heard, please leave us a review on iTunes. Until then, we'll see you on the water.